Hey, Coach, I saw a stat the other night that in Missouri's wins, Kobe Brown's averaging about 18 and 10. It's about half of that in their losses. You guys obviously did a really good job on them in the first game. Just curious what you need to do to have similar success on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe obviously, does a great job for him. He's a hard matchup at that 4 spot. He's a guy that, is really versatile. He can score the ball facing up. He can score the ball with his back to the basket. He's an excellent offensive rebounder. He can draw free throws attempted. You know what he's done of late too, a really good job, Curtis, is he's passed the ball really well as well. We've been really impressed with his ability to see the floor, and Coach Martin's putting him in a position, where they'll play through him, and he's got a little bit of point forward skills as well. But every time we play against Missouri, he's been a point of emphasis in our scouting report, and I'm sure he's a point of emphasis in everybody's preparation when they get ready for Missouri.
And then Javon Pickett's actually leading them in scoring in SEC play. He's got 8 straight league games with double-digit scorings. What have you seen from him that's made him so effective?
Yeah, another guy that's, we have great respect for at that small forward spot. Pickett, number 4, does a really good job of basket cutting. He plays really hard. Good offensive rebounder, slasher, gets out in transition and runs, and is tough-minded too. I mean, he gives his team an identity of toughness when he's on the floor as well.
Thanks, Coach.
Nate?
Yeah, Eric, does that loss to Alabama make it easier to kind of refocus on a Missouri team that y'all beat so badly that where players don't take it for granted?
Well, the first time we played Missouri means nothing, just like the first time we play everybody and you're getting ready for them for a second time. No, I wish we would have won the Alabama game, Nate. I think that the way that we prepared for Alabama after a really emotional win against Auburn, I'm really proud of our team. A lot of teams would not be able to come down from an emotional high and go out and compete like we did. All you got to do is look at the teams that Auburn's beaten this year. Look at their home record. Look at who they've beaten at home. It's a hard place to win against a really talented team. We gave ourselves an opportunity to win that basketball game after, arguably, in the 3 years I've been here, the most emotional home win that we've had. So I don't think that there'll be any, mental thing after the loss. I think that we're mature. We know who we are. And we know that this is going to be a very, very difficult game. As most games are when you play Coach Martin's teams. He's an excellent coach. They play hard. They play together, and they're hard to beat at home. So we got to get ready to play this game and turn the page for sure.
Does Missouri look like a different team than what you played them the first time? Have they changed much or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just, we talked about how well Pickett's played. Obviously, the question about Kobe Brown, Brazile continues to get better, because he's an athletic, younger player who's a freshman. Coleman continues to be, he's got good size at the point guard position. And Gordon, number 12, I think has played with much more confidence of late as well.
Thank you.
Bob?
Eric, I know you just said the first game doesn't matter, but when you beat a team by 44, and then you're playing them again, I guess a month later, I mean, how does that change the prep? And what do you expect from Missouri? I mean, you guys really paid back Alabama and LSU last year when they came to your place. What are you expecting from Missouri? And does it change the prep when you beat somebody that decisively?
No, I mean, I think you got to look at their most recent games and try to figure out what they're doing well and try to figure out what we're doing well of late. And, you have a whole different game plan. I think you have a little bit different, mindset, when you play these 2-game series after a win as opposed to after a loss. So we know they'll make adjustments because he's Coach Martin's a really good coach. I have as much respect for him as any coach in the league. And he and his staff will make adjustments as well. So we already know this game is going to have completely different identity than game 1 did.
And what do you expect from them, after getting beat by 44? I mean, I think that would get their, be pretty motivating for them, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not inside their locker room and I mean, Bob, you went to Missouri. Maybe you got more insight than I do on their. Maybe you're mad, Bob.
I'm only mad if you guys take a long. I'm only mad if it's a long game. Don't go overtime.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, they're going to be ready to play. I've talked about Coach Martin's toughness. I mean, I've coached against him when he was a player, and he will have his players ready to play at home. I have very little doubt, and we better be ready to play as well.
You guys are back in the top 25, I guess, at 23. You know, a lot of teams that were in the preseason poll and dropped out. They haven't made it back. You know, teams like Michigan and Memphis, Oregon, name a lot of them. Well, what do you think about being ranked, and especially when you went through a rough patch, now you're ranked again?
Yeah, I mean, I think the preseason stuff is just, the stuff early on is make believe. Nobody knows who their team is, and so I kind of throw that out. Although it certainly adds to excitement. And look, I think anytime you're ranked in the top 25, it's accomplishment where your players are rewarded for where they are during that particular week, because we all know that on Mondays there's a new ranking, and to split last week and then to jump up in the rankings is a credit to, one, the teams that we played and respect that the national, voters have for not just Auburn, but for also Alabama, because there is tremendous respect after a loss for us to be ranked. But I also think people to understand that that was a road game, and it was a road game that we had an opportunity to win after playing really well against Auburn. So it is what it is. It's great for our fans. It's good for our players. And, now there's a number attached to our name, and that adds responsibility as well when you're playing somebody.
Yeah, I got a couple more out if time allows. I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks.
Hutch.
Coach, something that Jalen and you both talked about after the game was the inability to finish or struggling to finish at the rim against Alabama. Is that something that you can focus on at practice, or is it something you're confident you're going to be able to bounce back, moving forward?
We could definitely practice it. You can ask Moses last year after about 4 games how many drills he did with pads and jumping off 2 feet and finishing, because I thought he went from struggling last year, the first 4 or 5 games at the rim, to becoming one of the best rim finishers in college basketball. So you can believe, I can rest assured you that there are players down there right now finishing around the rim. And for sure, Kamani Johnson's down there and Adese Toney. I can promise you they're both down there right now with pads, shooting over the pads and jumping off 2 feet. And if they're not, then they'll be doing it after practice.
Scotty.
Yeah, Eric, when you guys went to Ole Miss a few weeks back, Stan didn't score. I think he missed all 4 of his shots. But the last 2 times you guys have played away from home, he's been really solid and shot it pretty well. Do you think that game maybe refocused him a little bit in terms of like, this is maybe the mentality I've got to have when we're playing on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's, no different than a quarterback that gets in a groove, a baseball hitter that, right now I think he's offensively playing with confidence. I think his teammates are looking to get him shots. His stats offensively are good in league play. It's not often that a player can have, play better in league play than non-conference play. But I certainly think Stan, as the season has progressed, has become more and more comfortable on both sides of the ball for us.
And just what have you thought about his perimeter shooting and just how big that's been kind of as a compliment to JD's perimeter shooting?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but when both those guys are making threes, we're a different team. It opens up the floor, hopefully, for us to be able to finish at the rim. Although that was not the case the last game. But yeah, I mean, he's shooting the ball well. He spaces the floor out so much because he plays that 3-4 spot. And when it's not just a point guard or an off guard that's knocking down threes. And he's also a guy that's really helped us in the mid post and in mid range, 15 feet. He's a hard cover for sure.
Anthony.
Hey, Eric, yeah, you mentioned Trey Brazile earlier on. I was just kind of wondering what you've kind of seen in your scouting of him and just kind of where you think he's grown over the season since you guys last played.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just, he's no different than, a lot of younger big guys that keep getting better. I mean, I think if you look at last year, like our team with Jalen, Williams' growth, I thought he kept getting better and better. And obviously, Brazil, he's shooting the ball at close to 60% from the field. He's made 7 threes, so he's proven the ability, and he's shooting at a fairly good clip from 3 as well, although not a high volume. Good offensive rebounder. Obviously, his shot blocking ability and his ability to cover different positions. He's a guy that can switch out on a guard. He's got great versatility. He's got a bright future for sure.
Bob, follow up.
Eric, JD, I know he played pretty well in the second half with foul trouble, only got one more, I guess, but I think for the last 10, he's only played, 27 minutes, which is a lot for some people, but I know you'd like to play him more than that. What are you seeing from him getting in foul trouble? I know you don't want to take his aggressiveness away, but is there something you can do to where he doesn't get in foul trouble, especially in the first half?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are self-inflicted. It's not like it's not like the other team's dribble driving him, and that his fouls happen, sometimes at half court. But that's what happens when you have a player that's one of the top steal guys in the league, Bob. I mean, I think that, whether it's a high steal player in the NBA or a high steal player collegiately, sometimes that aggressiveness, we don't want to take the aggressiveness away, but he did defend the entire day yesterday with a towel. I can't raise my arm, but he had a towel over his head, held it with both hands, to try to play without reaching. I don't know if that'll help or not, but we got to keep trying to come up with some creative drills to get better, whether it's finishing at the rim or defending without fouling, all those things. Like, that's our job, is to try to simulate things to try to help him.
Deesh, he's been such a good shooter percentage-wise. Obviously, that was very uncharacteristic the other day. How do you feel like he'll bounce back from that 1 of 11 game?
Wow. Well, I hope we never see one of those nights again. 1 of 11's hard to do, especially when they're around the rim. He's got to finish at the rim. There's no doubt. I mean, you got to absorb contact like he's done all year. I mean, it's also, he had 30, family members. I don't know if that, becomes a distraction or what, but he won't go 1 of 11 because he won't have an opportunity to get the 11th shot up if he's 1 of 10 going into the 11th shot.
Okay. And the other day the other night against Ole Miss, Missouri, I think had 4 players hit 13. You think for them to win, Brown has to have a big game. He had a good game, but I think he had 13 and some rebounds and 5 assists. But that kind of balance, what'd you think of that? And how does that challenge the defense when they have that many guys that are scoring in double figures?
Yeah. Again, I think that they're playing with confidence. I think they're sharing the ball. They're doing, what we would expect of a Coach Martin team to play better as a team, or as the season progresses. But yeah, I mean, we've mentioned Brown and Davis can score the ball. He's an excellent mid-range shooter. Pickett plays hard. He attacks the rim. He can make a feet set 3. And Coleman's a guy who stretches the defense out, having made 35 threes on the year. So I think that it can be a different guy for them. And number 21 at the power forward spot is active and a good cutter. Brazil does a good job running the floor. So they do have a lot of different guys that can score the ball for them.
You talked about Snoop Dogg last week. Did you, assuming you watched the Super Bowl halftime show, what'd you think?
10 out of 10. Unbelievable.
Okay, that's
especially if you lived in LA, then it takes on a special meaning.
Yeah, and can you believe Snoop Dogg was here, like, I don't know how many weeks ago that was. He was at that Raising Cane's drive-through window and stuff. And then you see him on the Super Bowl. I mean, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, he was at Raising Cane. He was at JJ's Live, and I'm sitting back there talking to him about the UCLA Arkansas battle many years ago, and wow, he's on the Super Bowl. Pretty cool stuff. Awesome for Northwest Arkansas that Snoop Dogg was here.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks, Eric.